I just got to get my head around this. So how many students do they have in like, what's the latest data? I think you said you had that. How many students are we talking about that represents that $2 billion in tuition and fees they're taking in each year?
There's a total of the latest numbers that I could find, which was 21, 22. So last year, there were 31,345 students enrolled in programs at Harvard University. Only 9,500 of those students are undergraduates. So 21,766 of those students were graduate students. So it's kind of more of a graduate college now anymore than an undergraduate anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is they all pay the same tuition. So basically the same tuition. So you're looking at in this year, the cost of this year is $52,659 basic tuition for the year. And if you add room and board and other fees, it brings the tag up to $76,763.
Okay.
And,
so that comes to about $2 billion.
Yeah, 2.406 or something like that billion.
Mm-hmm.
So not quite 2.5 billion. And so if you look at that, that's just a tuition. That doesn't. We're not even talking endowment funds here. This is just the money coming in, and that money coming in is coming in from either student loans or mom and dad's pocket, or the kids are financing themselves through work or whatever. Because I imagine there's a lot of graduate students that are going there that are primarily paying their own way, or at least they're financing it and they're able to make payments on their
well, let's see. So 2.5. Okay. So 2.5 billion. I'm just doing some rough numbers. Divided by 31,000 comes to $79,000 per butt in the seat.
Yeah, it's actually 2.40 something. So
okay.
It's a little
okay.
Yeah, it comes out to that.
All right. So they collect all that money. They've got to have they've got roughly 31 and some change butts in the seat teaching them stuff, right? 31,000.
Right.
All right. So they got to pay for facilities. They got to pay for instruction, all their professors, all the administrative staff, all that stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And
so
that's interesting too, because of the average tenured professor at Harvard makes about $226,000 a year.
Yeah,
a little over $226,000 a year, but there are only 581 tenured professors at Harvard. So you're looking there at 131,000 or 131 million in costs for the teachers. However, interestingly enough, there are 7,024 total full-time administrators working at Harvard, and their average is 70,000. I'll say 71,000, just a little over 70, almost 71,000, rounding off. So there, you're looking at an additional 498 million just for the administration. So if you add those together, you're looking at like 600 million.
Yeah, and you get a 2.4 billion in revenue coming in out of that, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then you've got. I'm just looking at it from a business standpoint. All right, so that the expenses. Well, the expenses don't stop there. Obviously, they have insurance. They got to keep the lights on. They got all that kind of stuff. But they're making a margin. I would assume they've been doing this a long time. So the amount of cost it takes to run that school, comes off the total income they have generated. They're making a profit. right? So you're exactly right. So the money, the extra profit, I'm guessing that goes into. Can it go into the endowment fund? I don't know. Maybe.
They can roll it into an endowment fund. They can roll it into a facilities fund.
Yeah.
There are a lot of 501s that have facility funds, especially
Okay.
schools. I
Okay.
read it when I was writing charter schools years ago, and the charter schools, they start off by renting or whatever from a school district, whatever, an old closed school or buildings or whatever, and they start off with their funding. They set aside so much out of their tuition each year toward a building fund. Well, that building fund is puts you into that. It keeps you from any profit that you can make. You can roll into that building fund, so that keeps you out of the nonprofit issue.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
profit, so you can stay nonprofit that way. And they
That's
do,
so.
except they roll it into their endowment funds.
That's so interesting. Yeah, and then the endowment funds, most of the money, that's not where all the money comes from. The money comes a lot from the endowment funds, I would imagine, through the donations of the alumni, right?
The bulk of it comes from the alumni, and of course, Harvard being the premier, if you will, when they turn businessmen out or business people out, they end up as starting their own businesses or they become hotshot lawyers or whatever their career path, which is fine. That's great. Some of these people are worth billions of dollars, so
Right.
they donate 10, $15 million. Well, that goes right into the endowments, and if they're not spending it, it just gets bigger.
Right.
And of course, they keep hitting these people for more and more donations, alumni donations. So the bulk of their endowment funds primarily come from that. At least that's what they're saying. Now, I say some of that I have to take back because the 30%, like when they went up 30%, that was when we were coming out. The stock market basically was coming out of
Right.
Out of the COVID, coming out of that funk, and endowments and endowment managers and stuff at these institutions are allowed to invest. So they're putting a lot of money into investments, and as their investments, are growing, and they grew rapidly there for a while, not all that money rolls back into the endowment too, and there are no taxes on that.